First is the introductory part, followed by my experience whilst on the job that we'll share together. Then I'll go to office specifics. That way, it will be easier for us to assimilate while we're here. The topic, cultural and emotional intelligence in office workspace. I'm humbled and honored to stand before the very distinguished faculty, very eminent scholars and brilliant students of high-flying Southern University of to present this paper. Great universities all over the world create fora for town and gown to relate seamlessly in the overall development of scholarship, learning, and research. It is my great pleasure, therefore, to be invited to this ivory tour to deliver this lecture, and I do hope our modest contribution will help further in widening the horizon of scholarship. Humans have evolved from the Stone Age to the technological age, from gatherers to settlers, from cave, from cave existence to urban dwelling. This obviously long process of evolution have necessitated the need for man to have his relationship skills honed through use of verbal communication, which is language, non-verbal communications, which is body language, and recorded communications, writing, and documentaries. Man is essentially a social being. We thrive on interpersonal relationships, in our one-on-one relationships. Even as corporate entities, we must synergize, cooperate, and collaborate to achieve our goals and objectives. It is against this backdrop that the issue of cultural and emotional sensibilities come in clear focus. I've earlier told you that our knowledge skill is not enough. We must be sensitive to our environment through who we have become in the mold of the character that we showcase anywhere we are. People who find it difficult to relate well with others will negatively affect the cohesion, bonding, and collaborative efforts needed for teamwork in corporate settings, not only in corporate settings, anywhere, especially the office workspace. That is why it is essential for us to learn about various forms of intelligence. I'll just list them briefly. Financial intelligence, spiritual intelligence, cultural intelligence, emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence, security intelligence, and diplomatic intelligence. Specifics, we'll be dealing with cultural and emotional intelligence. Language is key in communication, but other important factors are also needed as well. Cultural and emotional intelligence are vital factors in ensuring smooth working relationships within and outside the workspace. I would like to enrich this paper with my personal experiences in managing people. I will take you through my management experience in the advertising and broadcasting industry as case studies. So I'll be mixing both. In advertising, it's a tripod. We know in marketing, you have advertising, you have PR, right? These are the legs that marketing stands on. So there's no way you can practice advertising without being very, very good in marketing. Of course, they call it marketing mix. You all know about it. So public relations, communication is key to an organization's performance. I want you to be noting the vital words that I use. Communication is the key to an organization's performance. If you communicate well, you achieve results. If you don't communicate well, you'll be dancing in circles. All movement, all no movement, right? So effective PR regime is key to sustain a great client-customer relationship. There are skillful ways of addressing clients, being free with them without acting too familiar. You see, in advertising, you pitch for accounts, right? In the process of pitching, you come in contact with people. They will invite you. It is not your skill alone they want. Because beyond the business they are giving you, you are managing a whole gamut of other aspects of the organization. So it goes beyond you are waiting an account. No, it goes beyond that. Some clients will want to load it over you and send you on menial errands because they pay your bills. But you must know when and how to draw the line. It takes both emotional and cultural intelligence to successfully manage multinationals. I'll give you an example. We're handling them LG brand when I was in advertising. And there's this lady, she's the marketing manager. And she's very, very assertive. As early as 8 o'clock, she'll be in our agency. She'll be in the studio all through with the creatives, both the copywriter and the artist. She will not allow them to go for lunch. She can do it consecutively for 2 weeks because they're always racing against time. The briefs will come late, they will not stampede us, right? We got to a stage that I knew that my staffs they weren't comfortable. I need to manage the situation, right? To please the clients and please the staff. Because if we don't find a middle course, we will lose their account. At the end of the day, we will be the people that will suffer for it. So in this case, the cultural and emotional intelligence comes into play because you need to manage people's emotion. You need to manage people's feelings. You must feel for them. And you know Lagos life. You leave your house as early as 4 a.m. You won't get to the office until about 8 or 9, and already your client is waiting for you in your office. You could be nagging. So you need to manage that effectively. Communication takes many forms: speaking, listening, writing, drawing, body movement, and body language. In the world of advertising, right from our presentation, we are often able to determine whether the client will hire or fire us. While my colleague is presenting, I will be busy studying and interpreting the various body movements of prospects. Because sometimes, I keep saying, it's not what you are there to deliver. You want to check some other things in you, the way you behave, the way you receive people, the courtesies you have. It goes a long way. I'll give you an example. When we were pitching for Skybank, Skybank was formerly Prudent Bank, right? So we handled the transition and we went for a pitch. From 6 agencies, we were shortlisted to 3, then to 2. And I remember on the final day, that was the day we saw the chief executive, Akifenwade. And he just sauntered into our presentation. And he didn't spend more than 10 minutes. And all of us were shocked because the first presentation, we were the second agency. He sat all through the first presentation. When it came to our turn, he just sat for 10 minutes and he left. And my guys were flustered. I said, no, look, take it easy. The way I saw him, I think he's already convinced with our delivery. And hold and behold, by 8 o'clock that same night, he gave us a phone call. And that was our first major break in advertising business. So it goes a long way in studying people's body language. Then hosting dignitaries and VIPs. Whilst presiding over Radio Quara, I was privileged to host many VIPs, including the governor, heads of federal government parastatals, first lady, traditional rulers, and religious leaders. I can recall that each of the situations presented me with opportunity to deploy different emotional and cultural intelligence. For example, the governor must have the last word and must not be openly criticized. When the governor is with you, there are protocols you must observe. 1, you don't make this kind of gesture. No, if he doesn't point at you, you don't. You put your hands together, and once he comes in, before he comes in, you will have lined outside. These are all courtesies. You don't expect him to come to your institution and you are seated in the office because you are the chief executive. It doesn't work that way. And because you are even hosting, he does these things on a monthly basis. He comes once in a month to come and address quarrels, and he uses our platform. There's this particular day I'll remember. It was in a hall. We usually hold it in the bigger hall. And at the point of starting his presentation, the equipment failed. And my guys were flustered, So I was looking at them, they were looking at me. So I had to stand up, went to the studio. I said, what they said, the link wasn't working. And nobody could dare tell the governor, even the security, even the SSG. They said, no, GM, this is your territory. You must find a way to convince Oga, because he has to move from that hall to go to the studio to do his presentation. So if you're not very skillful in the way you were approaching, you could easily backfire. In fact, you can lose your job. So I approached him and I said, in fact, what I did was to break it down to him. I spoke Hausa language straight because I know he's very familiar with Hausa language. So I broke barriers. He said, what's the problem? I said, we have a challenge. He said, what's the challenge? I said, I don't want people to know. That's why I'm speaking Hausa. He said, what's the challenge? I said, we have a link problem. He said, so what are we going to do? I said, you have to move. He said, that's not an issue now. Go and set it up. And they didn't know what we discussed. So I went in 5 minutes, it was done, and he moved. You see how I was able to manage and save the situation. So you need all this moving forward. Communicating our thoughts gives power to them as they are processed in minds of those who hear, read, and watch us. Communication is a two-way affair. At least two parties are involved. A person can also communicate with himself or herself. Yes, that is what we call reflection. But how can we get our messages across clearly using both cultural and emotional intelligence? That is what we shall explore together. In advertising, we have our ethics. Every message in an ad should be truthful, provable, and not misleading. Is it true? Every message in an advert should be truthful, provable, and not misleading. Nobody's answering me. Is that the real case? The reason why I'm asking this question is deceptive advert may lead to trial purchase. But the moment consumers sense deceit, that is the end of the story. The brand will fail. That is why in all things we do, let people know your character traits. If they know that you have good qualities as a person, it's easy to relate with you. Corporate culture at Radio Quora. One of the first things we did when I resumed at Radio Quora was to do a brand audit and institute a corporate culture. Before that time, people dressed to the office as if they are going to parties, mosque, or just hanging out. We recommended the minimum requirements for official dressing. We regulated the volume of noise in the radio station. We regulated timekeeping and rewarded hard work while frowning at indolence. We achieved all this with emotional and cultural intelligence because as at the time I got to Radio Quora, I didn't have public sector experience at all. I was coming from a background of private sector. And let me tell you, it's a two separate worlds entirely. Those who work in ministries and parastatals, it's a different ballgame entirely because in private sector, you are profit driven. You are motivated. They reward you, they punish you instantly. But it's not so in public service. In public service, they'll be giving you endless queries. They'll tell you can't sack. What are they encouraging? Indolence now, laziness. And I dare say, Nigeria's problem will be half solved if we have efficient public service people. 50% of our problem in Nigeria will be solved if our public sectors are run efficiently and profitably. And I'll give you an example. When I joined Radio Quora in 2010, they were celebrating 35 years of existence. I met them, they were doing celebration when I got there. And I was asking, celebration, what have you achieved? Because there must be milestone. That's the mentality I brought. I said, there must be milestone. What are you celebrating? They say, yeah, 35 now. And I said, what are the key milestones? What has the station achieved in terms of monuments? Let's see, tangible things. There was nothing. That's when I said, there's a big challenge here. So I did a small audit based on my knowledge skills I brought over. And we realized that there was no motivation, nothing to ginger you to come to the office. Most of the time, I get to the office by 7:30. It's the staffs that keep harassing me that, Jẹ́mi ọmọ, ìyàwó ẹ̀ ò sí nílé, ló ṣe ń jí wá síbi iṣẹ́ 7:30. Àmọ́ tó ń wá. Yeah, they will resume by 10 and by 12 they've gone. And I realized I can't sack them. So I said, okay, there must be a way out. I identified my team because I inherited 259 staffs. And they were too laborious. And I needed only, when I did my audit, I only needed 49 staffs. And I can't sack. So what do? I identified my team, encouraged them, empowered them. So I only see them. I disregarded those people I can't deal with. Right? And what did you do? Because I empowered the few ones, they were doing what they need to do. They were living big and large, right? It acted as motivation. So people started falling in line. We barely could pay our salaries when I got there. And it was at that time they did a salary increment of 20%. So I said, okay, give me 90 days. In 90 days, we were able to implement 20% salary increment. Radio Kwara, note, was the first Kwara State parastatal that paid minimum wage in Kwara State with our own resources. We didn't wait for government. That way, I was able to whip my staffs in line. So I told them, if you cannot resume by 8, you are not part of us. Because by 8, I'm already there and I'll be at the reception in any case. So I want to see who will come late. So these are all the things we could do to enrich ourselves. The human component is the most delicate to manage in the management mix. Managing elderly people requires high level of emotional intelligence. I particularly was initially seen as an outsider at the radio house, but after I have proven my mettle by reviving their marketing and revenue earnings, the respect came naturally. We barely were doing about 901 million, on a monthly basis when I resumed. And it was not even enough for operational expenses, talk of salaries. And they were always waiting for government to pay salaries. And I said, we can make profit with what we have. We don't need to wait for government. Right. And in 6 months, our revenue shoot up from 5 million to 7 million, and it peaked at 15 million on a monthly basis. Look at the wastages. I didn't change personnel. I only reject the same people working in Radio Kwara. Right? It took a lot of cultural and emotional intelligence to change the status quo and motivate my staff morale. Yes, my born experience. This is Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria. This is the forum where the chief executives of broadcasting establishments comes together. Executives from different parts of Nigeria have varying cultural and traditional norms and foibles that must be respected. Those who come from the north, you must know they have their ways. Those who come from the east, they have their ways. And those of us from the southwest, we have our ways, The moment the line is crossed, there will be conflict. Because if a woman chief executive is attending the conference and you are shaking her, you're in trouble now. She won't even answer you. And she will take you as an enemy instantly. That was the problem. So you must be guided with your cultural intelligence. Breaking down barriers is one of the first steps towards good communication. And both cultural and emotional intelligence have vital roles to play in this. My international travels. Visiting Amsterdam for the first time was a cultural shock for me. All the things we hold sacred here are exposed with impunity. It's so sad. You see, travels is part of education. Oh. Don't limit your skill sets to what you acquire in the classroom. No, try and reach out as much as possible. And when you travel, pick out important things. My first experience at Amsterdam, I went to attend an international conference on broadcasting. It's a three-legged stuff. We do one in Amsterdam, US, another one in Europe, which is Amsterdam, and then the third leg in Africa, which has been done in Nigeria, in Abuja. Every year, that's the way it rotates. My first experience when I got to Amsterdam was shocking. And I'm sure maybe the visitor will have experienced it. There's a place they call Red Line District in Amsterdam. You guys can Google it. I won't say more. Just Google it. You see what happens there. My experience in Las Vegas offended my sensibilities as a Muslim. That's another area. This is US. A whole city celebrating lottery. I was simply overwhelmed. From coming down from the plane, all through every nook, even in your toilet, there's lottery. They don't call it lottery, they call it a game. It's game. And as early as 8 o'clock, you see elderly, retired people sitting down and they'll be doing their prakaka. It's a culture for them. So you can just imagine the kind of education you receive and a broader horizon you will have through travels. Getting to Saudi Arabia whilst on pilgrimage exposed me to Muslims from all parts of the globe and their sensibilities. I'll give an example. There was one fateful day. We were waiting to enter a lift, and all of a sudden, I just heard a loud slap. I was scared because I thought I will be the next victim. And the next thing I was saying, you are looking at my wife. You are looking at, yes, you are looking at her. I'm telling you, we had to smuggle the guy away. He would have been lynched to death. Reality. So each time I'm in Saudi, I gaze on, I don't look at anybody. Yes, it's better you save yourself. Right? So you need cultural intelligence to operate in all these places. Then in Dubai provided a mix between the excesses of the West and the sanity of the East. It was a refreshing experience. You know, Dubai, the places that you guys visit, it's not Dubai. It's created for you people to do all your shenanigans. The real Dubai, the indigenous, where they live, is quite different from all those places that they show you. And they live a very decent and serene life. That Dubai is built to make money for them, and they are making their money. Dealing with clerics, these are men of God who are used to being respected and celebrated. Majority have ego issues, which must be managed with tact and wisdom. They like to pose as final authority on matters of religion, especially in the interpretation of the Quran. I had to deal with so many of them at the radio house without getting dirty with the politics of religion. That certainly took a lot of cultural and emotional. I'll give you just one example. I need to be given an example so that you can relate with it. I have a staff who stole the first time, second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time. So I was compelled, I sacked him. All of a sudden, I just saw religious clerics from the Emir's palace. And I entertained them, I received them and said, Jim, what happened? One of our sons, you just injured him. I said, injured him. Saying that he just came home and said he can't work with radio. But I said, I don't know what he has done, that they should allow me. So I called my admin. I said, who are they talking about? I said, the guy, I said, this one, we can't deal with it. I convinced them that, look, he has stolen 6 times. I've been patient enough now. You know what they told me? So how do you manage situations like that? I begged them, I pleaded with them, they left. But I'm telling you, hold and behold, in less than 30 minutes, my Kabisi from Ofa called me. This same Kabisi called me. ṣe àjíẹ̀m kí ló dé wọ́n sọ pé wọ́n ń da gbogbo bẹ̀ ń rú gbogbo ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tí ò bá tẹ̀wò kó ṣe ọ̀dà kan dáríjì kọjú àwọn kábíyèsí ẹ̀jẹ̀ ń wá ó yẹ kẹ́ gbọ́ tẹnu mi náà náà. You know, so when I got to his place, I explained with files everything. He said, ṣé n tó ṣe ẹ máa ń lọ òun náà ṣe pé pọ̀ ọ̀gbọ́n kankan. So I had to sack him. So you need to manage people's sensibilities. It's very, very important. Telephone ethics. The telephone can easily connect you with power without you realizing it. I'm always extra careful answering calls because you can never tell who is at the other end. The caller could be a president, an emir, an oba, an imam, a prof, etc. The advertising and broadcasting industries where I work expose one to people in power and authority, both at the private and public sectors. On telephone, there is no opportunity to make a first impression the second time. Once you make a mistake, it's a no-no. It's a no-no. And it could cost you so much. Adverts are designed to reflect the cultural sensibilities of the host. Look at what I gave you. Can you imagine exposing this in the north? Is it possible? Even in learning, you can't do it. This one, if you try it. This popular artist, actor, Adebowale, that was advertising, they want his father. They had to bring all his art down in Kwara, but they are exposing it in Southwest and other places. You know, so that's the way it works. Body language in emotional and cultural intelligence. We can use various body and facial language to convey the following meanings: that you are paying attention, you are looking at me straight in the face, you are paying attention, emphasizing a point, showing uncertainty. You will see it. It shows your facial appearance, needing reassurance or expressing conflict. Office operate and deliver value as team. Note, please. Offices operate and deliver value as team. Our VC, as rich as his vision is, if his team don't have a buy-in, he will be running alone. That's the truth. So effective teams are built on a foundation of trust, open communication, individual competence, talent, and a vibrant lateral learning system. Communication has three aspects: facts, feeling, and purpose. Communicating effectively with the superiors, workmates, subordinates, and members of the public is one of the most important skills that every solid lecturer and student should develop. Without the relationships with these persons will suffer and your productivity will be low. Feelings, not the facts, are the reason most communications fail. Note it all. Feelings, not the facts, are the reason most communications fail. The public deserve and demand respect, not rude language. Rough behavior and horseplay while on duty debases the position of every staff and will make people question your standard. Gossiping or rumor mongering damages morale. So, what is cultural intelligence and what is emotional intelligence? Answering these questions is the thrust of this paper. Cultural intelligence deals with understanding the prevailing culture, religion, and values of a society. Cultural intelligence is the ability, you see, I highlighted that area, is the ability to recognize and adapt to cultural differences. It can give you the confidence to operate successfully in a wide range of settings. Culture doesn't just refer to nationality, ethnicity, or religion. If you cast your mind back to all the examples I've given you, these are the three components of cultural intelligence: the cognitive, the physical, and the emotional, which is sometimes called motivational. Cultural intelligence or cultural content is the capability to relate and work effectively across cultures, bearing similarity to the term cultural agility. The term has been used in business, education, government, and academic research context. I'm sure the papers will be shared with you guys once we are done. Cultural intelligence helps you communicate and connect with people of different backgrounds, cultures, and races. which is essential in our interconnected world. Definitely, it's an interconnected world. More so when you hold your phone and you can go anywhere, you can travel anywhere. For example, get to know people in different communities and social groups is very important. It's good education. Learn a foreign language, but start with local. They say you go local, but you start with local. If you're a Yoruba speaking person, learn either Hausa or Igbo. It's good for us. I'm telling you, it's good for us. Languages break barrier. People will have confidence in you. They will trust you if you can speak their language. And improve your cross-cultural communication skills in general. Volunteer for projects that puts you in a contact with teams, organizations, or groups from different cultures. This is not popular here. Volunteerism is very good for us. It's not everything that we get money for. It's not. Secondly, the emotional intelligence deals with the interpretation and understanding of the feelings and moods of the people. This is the most critical ingredient in office workspace. I'm telling you, no matter how good you are, no matter how brilliant you are, if you cannot modulate between your feelings and your co-workers, it's a no-no for you. Absolutely no-no. What is emotional intelligence? Is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions and those of the people around you. People with a high degree of emotional intelligence know what they are feeling, what their emotions mean, and how these emotions can affect other people. Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify and regulate one's emotions and understanding the emotions of others. A high emotional intelligence helps you to build relationships, which is where I'm going. It helps you to build relationships, reduce team stress, diffuse conflict, and improve job satisfaction. I'll be going to specifics now, what it does in office workspace. Emotional self-awareness. This is what it does. The skill of perceiving and understanding one's own emotion, understanding your own emotion. What's the consequence in workplace? The outcome is the capacity to identify and understand the impact one's own feelings is having on thoughts, decisions, behavior, and performance at work. It leads to greater self-awareness. 2, emotional expression. The skill of expressing one's own emotions effectively, creating greater understanding amongst colleagues about yourself. What is the outcome in workplace? Creating greater understanding amongst colleagues about yourself, creating trust and perceptions of genuineness amongst colleagues, because your colleagues too must have this ability to trust you, and they must know that you are genuine. If you are a fake friend, you know what you get now. Yes, if you're a fake friend, you know what, yeah, that's the way it is. So it translates. It translates. It's just natural. Emotional awareness of others. The skill of perceiving and understanding others' emotions. What is the consequence in workplace outcome? Greater understanding of others, how to engage, motivate, and connect with them, interpersonal effectiveness. Emotional reasoning, the skill of utilizing emotional information in decision making. It enhances decision making where more information is considered in the process of greater buy-in from others into decisions that are made. This is very useful for our VC. Emotional awareness of self, the skill of effectively managing one's own emotion. It's like improved job satisfaction and engagement, improved ability to cope with high work demands, greater interpersonal effectiveness, enhanced productivity and performance. Emotional management, okay, I think it's the skill of influencing and mood. Okay, the capacity to generate, let's move on. Emotional self-control, the skill of effectively controlling strong emotions experience. What's the outcome? Emotional well-being is the capacity to think clearly in stressful situations, the capacity to deal effectively with situations that cause strong emotions. Conclusions. Great communicators communicate effectively in words, attitude, and in writing. It is hope that is, it should be, it is our hope.
That is missing.
Something is missing. And I wrote it. I'm sure I removed something that is causing wahala. It is hope our interpersonal relationships will be further enhanced by putting the skills highlighted in this paper to use in our various spheres of operation and influence, especially in workspace. I thank you for the opportunity to share.
الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحان